Well, hello there, fearless midlife trailblazers. Welcome to Create the Best Me. If you are new here, I'm so glad you made it here. If you're a returning listener, welcome back to the one and only place where we encourage and empower women in midlife to pursue their dreams and live life to the fullest. I'm Carmen Hecox, your host and personal development coach. Today, we have a truly special guest with us. Joining us is the remarkable JJ DiGeronimo, an award-winning author, keynote speaker who has made waves not just in the tech industry, but also in the realm of personal development and empowerment. With a mission to elevate women's frequencies and amplify their future impact, JJ's combined mindfulness, energetic practice, and proven strategies to light up the way. She's been featured in esteemed publications like Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and Thrive Global, and her portfolio boasts 3 books, 2 podcasts, and 2 global online communities, and numerous of in-person experiences. Today, she's here to share insights from her latest book, Seeking 74 Key Findings to Raise Your Energy, Sidestep Your Self-Doubt, and Align Your Life's Work. So buckle up as we dive into a conversation that promises to be enlightening and transformative. Let's welcome JJ. JJ DiGeronimo. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I have you on Create the Best Me. This is a pleasure to have you on.
Oh my goodness. We're going to have a great conversation.
Yes, we are. And today's conversation is about this beautiful little masterpiece that you have carefully put together. I'm going to say right now, it is an awesome book. I love it. I felt like you and I were in the same room and you were coaching me through different little emptiness that I had inside me.
That is amazing. That's amazing. This is my 3rd book. And they say your 3rd book is like your most honest book or your true book. And I have to say that is true for me.
JJ, first of all, tell the audience who you are.
Well, I think I'm just like you. I mean, I'm a woman trying to make a difference, take care of my family, show up at work in the best capacity, get things done, feel like I'm present, be a good girlfriend, be a good daughter, try to realize that my kids are, my biggest lesson and be there for the lessons we're there to learn together. So I think in a lot of ways, I'm like every woman out there just trying to get up every morning and not only be a good participant in the world, but put forth love and make a difference in my own way.
And I admire you because you were living the dream that most women want to live. And that is be that big executive, sit in the big girl chair, make those decisions and see beautiful results. But you walked away from that.
Yes. Well, I had an inner turmoil that I could not deny. And I feel like as much as I wanted to stay, my soul had other plans for me.
And I'm glad you did it, because if you hadn't have done it, I wouldn't have read this amazing book. That is book number 3 for you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time. We're all so busy. So the fact that you took the time is just the greatest gift, I think, for me. When you're writing, and let me just say, I'm not a writer, I guess I need to lean into that being my 3rd book, but I'm dyslexic. So the thought of writing just never crossed my mind because I got such bad grades in English when I was in high school. And it's not because I couldn't tell a story, but because I didn't know sentence structure, or I forgot my EDs, or I didn't have the S. And I think sometimes some of our challenges prevent us from leaning into what is calling us.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of women are blessed with this book. I want to read this. This is a quote from your book. I'm taking a couple little quotes. It says, "One of the best lessons that life's work is not to figure out the how. Our life's work lesson is to the whispers, to hear them and respond to the nudges that are presented themselves to us." Talk a little bit more about that.
Huge lesson for me, huge lesson. I, like many women, want to have everything mapped out, right? I want to know A to Z, and I want to know when I'm taking a break and how it's going to happen and who I'm going to partner with and what I'm going to do if something doesn't work. And what I've learned over the last decade is that I don't have to worry about the how. In fact, whatever you believe in your higher calling, whatever you call it, they've got your back. Like, you just need to lean into what is calling you. And I love to share that because I feel like so many women are sitting on the edge thinking, should I do it now? Is now the right time? I don't have the money. I don't have the resources, but I really encourage women to lean into just what is calling you. So I've had very distinct times in my life that this has happened to me. And just over the last 15 years, in 2006, I was sort of guided to start a women's group. I sat on it for 2 years. In 2008, I started the women's group that's still on LinkedIn today. It's over 10,000 women. And I sat there for 2 years thinking, oh my gosh, how could I be the one? What would I do? How would I do it? What if nobody comes? In 2016, I was really guided to bring women together outside. That was the message, bring women together outside. And of course, I was thinking, what does that mean? How do I do that? Do I do it right now? And it wasn't until 2018 that I launched my first retreat. And the retreat was outside. It was with Mother Nature. It was with light workers and energy practitioners. And in 2020, I was leaving Mount Shasta after a retreat I attended. And it said, bring the mystics together. That one only sat on for a year. But I think sometimes we're guided towards things to do. But our first question is, how would I do that? Am I the right person? No way I'm going to do that. I'm going to fail. I'm going to look ridiculous. My friends and family are going to think I lost my mind. And my encouragement is just to lean into it. Just research it, make a phone call, maybe write up a summary, nothing major, but lean into what is calling you.
Would that be intuition?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's our inner voice, and you can call it intuition. You can call it soul guidance. But I feel like if you create quietness in your life, if you find time to just be with yourself and make a habit of that, you will get guidance.
The chapter that I really, really loved, and I would say it's the one that just grabbed me and said, sit down, just choose me. And that's because when I read it, the first thing that came to mind as I'm reading all the words that you said is, I thought about my mom. And then I thought about myself. And I know that as a woman, we find it so difficult to spend money on ourselves. When we get on the airplane, the first thing the stewardess tells you is, in a case of an emergency, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then your young child, if you have a child with you. And so self-care is something that we feel so guilty about doing. But do you feel that when you took that trip to Sedona and you practiced self-care for the first time, it was that the energy that you received going there helped you get to where you are today?
I think that they're like you. We've talked about it. There's so many little steps, but I do think that was a big step in a series of little steps because it was my 40th birthday. I think most people want to have a party or travel with their spouse or do go to a spa, but I was really being drawn to invest in myself or fill myself up. It was a time where I was very depleted. I had been working long hours. I was on a team that was exhausting me. I didn't have the right help. And I felt like I kind of was lost in my own yeses. And when I was writing a presentation at night, after everyone had been sleeping, I found myself searching on Google for refueling retreats, retreats to reinvest, retreats that get your energy back, because I didn't really know what to do. But when I came across this particular retreat in Sedona, I almost got guilty even researching about it, that I ended up shutting my browser several times before I actually got the guts to sort of ask my family. Even though I was making my own money, I still felt responsible to ask, can I go to this? And as I talk about in the book, it was so hard because, my husband was like, oh, sure, let's go for your 40th. And then I had to be like, well, I really just need to go by myself. And I felt like I was denying him and celebrating with me in that way, but I knew I needed to go by myself. And I was scared, but I knew I needed to take time out for myself. I had been with him over a decade. I had young kids and I just needed to be by myself. And so after I got the hurdle of working it out with him, then I had to go to work and ask for the time off, and which was equally as nerve-wracking. Even though I had the time off, I knew I was shifting. And I feel like I'm so proud I did that. But there were many times through that like steps of getting it organized that I almost backed out. And I feel like that's totally normal because we're so taught to do so much for so many other people, and taking care of ourselves or even going on a trip by ourselves seems selfish.
Selfish to your family, selfish to your coworkers, your employer. Even though this was going to make you a better employee, a better leader, a better mom, a better wife, because you were refreshing yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just think even with all those things, like it's going to make you better. It's hard to know it. When you're depleted and you're overworked, it's like you're hanging out with a shoestring and you're hoping it'll make you better, but you're unsure. I just remember back to that time of like how unsettled I felt. But for me, it was the beginning of my seeking. It was the beginning of really figuring out who I was, because I had been what everyone wanted me to be for so long that I lost myself in the external striving, and I needed to regroup.
Another thing that you wrote in the book that just, it's almost like a punch in the stomach, because I need to be reminded of this. We cannot afford to wait until we feel 100% ready.
Isn't that the truth? We cannot wait until we're 100% ready.
I mean, like you mentioned, these retreats these thoughts about forming retreats or things that you wanted to do, and you waited 2 years or even more. Do you think that you were waiting to feel 100% ready?
Well, as you know from reading the book, I had a lot of self-doubt. I had a voice that nagged at me constantly that I had to be perfect and I had to be done right. And even the retreats, like who would come, what could I charge them? Would they think they paid too much? I mean, it really took me some time and a lot of mindfulness training with a practitioner to really get on the other side of those internal voices. But I could pair that with a lot of the stuff I talk about in my second book, which is there's a difference in working on your career and in your career, and self-efficacy is a huge piece of it. So self-efficacy is having a vision for where you want to go and believing you can achieve it. And self-efficacy is something that you fill up. It's a bucket you fill up in your life, and you can only fill it up when you strive before you're 100% ready. So I kind of knew like I didn't have to have like every T crossed or I dotted. But it was something I'd done for the first time, like putting a women's group together, writing my first book, starting retreats, now having a community of energy practitioners. I couldn't find a lot of people that had that trajectory. So it's not like I'm looking outward being like, well, how did she do it and how she did it? So I really had to get inside and be like, all right, this is what you're supposed to be doing this time around as a human. You have to trust that you have everything you need. And the biggest challenge for you is stepping around that self-doubt. Getting on the other side of that, or at least trying to compartmentalize it. And just as Jen Sincero would say, just see what you can do. Just see what you can do without expectations, without having a full plan. Just leaning into what is calling you and trusting that the universe will guide you to your next step.
Tell me, how did you learn to overcome your self-doubt?
Oh, well, it's there. It's there. My self-doubt's there every day, every hour. It's there all the time. And so a friend of mine named it a couple weeks ago. My middle name's Jane. So, hey, Jane, let's just see what I can do. And I think for many of us, if you can kind of name that voice in your head that makes you doubt yourself so much or make you feel fearful or makes you feel like now's the not right time, let's just say, hey, Jane, let me just see what I can do. Because there's really no fear in seeing, because there's no expectation. And when there's no expectation, there's no self-doubt. So it's been a lot of training myself, and Brene Brown's been awesome. Her book, Rising Strong, I love too. It's just been an amazing series of practitioners and videos and energy visits I've had. And I include those all in the appendix because I just feel like so many women need to be able to reach out, step out beyond this voice. Because we need more women at more tables. Like the world is lopsided right now. And if we're waiting till 100%, there's no hope. There's no hope.
In the book, you talked about going to get some Reiki treatment. Do you feel that the Reiki treatment helped you get quiet, get more connected with who you truly are, what you want, and being able to challenge your self-doubt?
I think, yes, I do think Reiki, but I am an active practitioner. I really work on, I'm not one, you won't really find me getting a massage, but you will find me doing an acupuncture session. I feel like I'm really working on my nervous system. I want to calm my nervous system down. I want to be more in my flow. I want to be inside my body, right? So much of my life I lived outside my body because I was just getting, going, doing. I need to get back into my body. I need to ground myself. I need to be in the moment. And so every practice I try and check out is because I'm trying to be in my body and find out where my blocks are. Where's the energy sitting? What am I holding that's no longer mine or I can release? And I just love energy practices and practitioners because oftentimes they are women, and it's women helping women really live in their light, live in love. And I feel like it helps with the whole energy of women working together.
You use the phrase light worker. Some people don't know what that is. I kind of learned a little bit about it when I read a book by Jenna Wilson. Tell us, what is a light worker?
Well, good. I'll tell you, and then you tell me. How about? So I feel like a light worker is somebody that lives in light and love. So you have an option. You can live in fear, worry, anxiety, or you can live in love and light. And the light workers that have come across my path have done the work. They've done the work to get out of this anxiety, worry, fear-based living and move into love and light. And they've had to do a lot of inner work to do that. They've carved out time, maybe not every day, maybe not every week, but more often than not, to really work through their stories, work through their doubts, understand their relationships, not only with people, but with money, understand their self-expectations, and really work to be in the present moment. And those people have often gone on to illuminate the path for other people to do the work, to step into their fullness. And I feel like for me, now that I'm in this space, I meet hundreds of people in this space too.
Yeah. Well, in reading her book, what I learned, and it was just very briefly because she touched on a lot of other different topics, but it was more of changing your mind as this is not happening to me. This is happening for me. And so seeing it as an opportunity for growth. What can I learn from this experience? Turning the negative into something positive. So that's my little tiny tradition.
Yeah, I love that mantra.
You also talked a lot. You often phrased this in the book. You said, from the corner of your desk. And I love that. Do you think that a lot of women out there have this like yearning inside that I am doing what I'm doing right now, my occupation, but deep down inside, I really want this other thing? And when you phrase from the corner of your desk, so work on what you're doing, but don't give up the dream. Don't give up that thing on the corner of your desk.
That was the original title of the book that has now evolved into Seeking. But I would say that, and people are like, what do you mean? And I feel like the women that are working on something in the corner or off the side of their desk, it's a passion project. It's something they feel inspired about. I talked to so many women that are like, well, I hope one day it becomes the thing. But I will tell you, like from the day I started a women's events till now, it's been 15 years. I did not leave my day job for 6 years after I started it off the side of my desk. And because I had to figure out revenue streams, I had to figure out what I was offering the world. And I just, for a long time, it was my fuel station, a part of my life that really filled me up. And I really did never think it was going to become my main thing, to be quite honest, when I started. But over time, the invites came, the opportunities came, and it just became very obvious. So if you're working on something off the side of your desk, keep at it. Just keep at it. I only worked on my women's group like an hour a week. And every quarter I'd spend 12 hours on it. And that's how I grew it. So it wasn't like I spent 18 hours in 1 week. It was 1 hour a week, but I was consistent. And I think if something's calling you, Be consistent. Schedule it in your calendar. Make it non-negotiable. Do not dismiss the activity until you actually do that 1 hour for yourself. And now, even now, I have pockets in my calendar that are self-development, self-care, nervous system work. Like I put that in my calendar because I can't do the work I'm doing now unless I truly take care of myself.
How difficult was it for you to be 100% at your day job when I know there was more passion living on the side of your desk?
It's a great question. It's funny because I had times I could integrate it. Now, there were times where I was speaking on my first book and I almost missed that flight to get to my day job for the next morning. I had to present in Canada and I was in New York City, and your energy will continue to raise. And as you raise your energy, new opportunities will come your way.
Sort of like everything kind of aligned itself.
It's true.
Another thing that I thought was interesting, this is a quote from the book, and this is when you decided to go to counseling. Was I worth loving? I wanted my husband to acknowledge, see, and love all things in me, but I didn't see love and acknowledgement in myself. And it was a sad truth. I think that a lot of times we as women want to receive something from others, but when we take a step back or maybe look at ourselves from an outsider's perspective, what we're expecting to receive from others, we're not even doing it to ourselves.
It's hard to hear. And, I guess just to be as transparent as possible is I'm still working on that. Like I haven't completely come around the barrel on that. And I'm still working to love all of me. And I do a lot of reading, a lot of self-development work. I'm still working on that. And you reading that out loud brings a tear to my eye because I've come a long way, but I still have a little bit more to do.
And there's a lot of you to love because you're giving so much to many women. You're inspiring, you're changing women. And the way I see it, the only way you can do that is through love.
That is true, but we all have our hangups and we all have things that are in our closet that we're still working through. And I would be dismissed to say that I'm on the other side of that. I'm not. I'm still working on loving myself and believing that I'm enough. And I feel like, to your point, if I'm still working on it, where a lot of us are working on it, I feel like the one thing that has kind of resonated with me recently is I'm reading, or I just finished The Vortex by Esther Hicks. And she's a big advocate that what happens outside of you is happening inside of you. So now when I have triggers, a comment is said, a decision is made, my previous response was I would feel bad about myself, but now I'm like, why is that triggering me? What is that making me learn? Why did that send me over the top, even if I don't say anything? And I'm just listening, but I can feel my energy slump down. And I really am just continuing to learn about myself and my journey and my triggers of self-love and acceptance and all of that. Because even though I do have a lot of things to celebrate, I'm still human and I'm still having this human experience that is about the lessons. It's about the journey. It's about falling down and standing back up. And I don't know if I'll ever be fully done with that.
The other thing that you talked about in the book, and I think you kind of sprinkled it throughout the book, but there was one chapter in particularly that talked about practicing gratitude. The universe will bring us exactly what we need in abundance if we appreciate what we have right now. And I think that that's something that we take for granted. We don't see the blessings that are in front of us because we're seeking something else.
Well, it's easy to do, right? Every commercial, every marketing campaign online is about what we don't have and how much better it'll make us feel. And when I was writing this book, I had to turn the TV off. I had to stop the scrolling because I really wanted to keep such a high energy, a frequency, as I call it, on the FM radio. Frequency modulation is what FM radio stands for, which is funny because that's what I ended up getting a degree in, is technology, which started on analog and went to digital. But it's funny to come back now is because I want to be at that 99.7, that 102.5. I don't want to be at 96 or 92 or even 88 on my radio station. And I had to turn off a lot of the things trying to get my attention. because I felt like I couldn't write this book at the frequency I wanted to if I paid attention to what everybody else wanted from me and what everybody wanted to tell me. And I think I really haven't gone back to it because I have I'm really just enjoying the sacred space of the quietness in my life. And I do have shows I record. I do listen to podcasts, but I would say that I don't know when there's a tornado coming, which doesn't matter because I live in Ohio, but there's some things I just don't need to know about. And I need that space for other things I'm working on.
So you've created this filter as to what you allow in your space and what you don't. In the book, you also talked about, and I loved it for your vulnerability, is you talked about when you started your own business, you went on your own, that your business evolved a lot. There were projects that you started that didn't produce the results that you wanted, monetary results that you wanted. Tell me, how was it that you were able to see these as opportunities to refine your business, mold it? It was just part of the growing process into what it's become today.
Oh my goodness. Some of those lessons were painful. I mean, the lesson where I spoke at an event, this was back in 2002. Remember, I was telling you I was trying to become a speaker. I had been speaking for 5 years, but I spoke at an event. I had to apply. They accepted me. I brought cue cards, and I just did a horrible job. I mean, this was back in 2002. And I was thinking, I mean, they wrote reviews like, please don't ever come back again. You are a horrible speaker. You know, fast forward 20 years, I now do quite a bit of keynoting, but like each of those steps has brought me to this moment. And I think sometimes what we think is going to get us there, or what we envision is the path, is only a step. In fact, my second book, Accelerate Your Impact, I didn't know there was a difference of working in your career and on your career. And in my 40s, I realized how hard it was to get ahead, get to that next executive level. And I did a ton of research on why are so many women in middle management, and how do you get that board invitation or that executive head nod or even that position. And I told my husband, I think that I published it in 16, I think 18, we were walking. That's one thing we do. We walk all the time. It's how we work through life. And my love language is quality time. So it's really great. But I said, this must not be my main thing because I have no wind under my wings. Everything I'm doing, I'm lifting up and moving the box. Must not be what the universe wants me to do. And little did I know, like, that I was going to write this book in 2022, 4 years later, and my work is going to be much more around illumination, mysticism, energy practices, mindfulness. And I'll tell you, there is wind under my wings now, but I wouldn't have been able to flourish had I not had every single one of those steps that happened before the age of 50.
And what I really admired about reading that and going through the entire book was that you didn't give up. Because some people would have said, you know what? No, I wasn't cut out for this. I was cut for the corporate life and I'm going back. What was it that kept you from staying where you were at, knowing that this isn't working, but I'm growing and I can see the future. I can see that this is going to be something amazing.
Well, I definitely have help. Okay. So as I told you, I love energy practices. I love the birth chart and human design and numerology and Enneagram. So I was constantly learning about myself, but I was in Miami Beach in 2017 and I was at the Standard, a really kind of cool hotel, but I was by myself a day. We had a wedding down there and I told my husband, I'm going to go a day early and just be by myself. Another time of just squeezing out a little time by myself. And he'd been doing a lot of work trips and I was home all the time. And I was like, I just need some more time by myself. So I'm going to go a day early and then you meet me there. And he said, okay. So I met with a birth chart woman and she told me it was 2017. She goes, in 2023, this is all going to come together. And I'm like, oh, dear God. 2023? I've been already at this for 3 years on my own. There's no way I'm waiting till 2023. I'm pretty sure I left the place crying because I was like, this is so much work. And now it's 2023. And I have to say that like every little piece mattered. And I wonder if I really needed to hear that or if it was a blessing in disguise, because it did keep me going in times where I really just wanted to like get in bed and cry and put a pillow over my head. But now looking back, like I needed every little piece because the universe has granted me this amazing center that's about an hour from my house on Lake Erie, which I believe is a healing center where all these energy practitioners are going to come together, all these authors. And I would not have been prepared for that in 2019 or 2020. Like I had to work through my seeking, which is what I share in that book, Seeking. I had to work through all those steps to be prepared for what the universe was offering me. And I wouldn't have been ready 2, 3, 4 years ago.
And that's inspiring for me because last night I told my husband, I said, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. It was like 8:30 and I told him, I said, I just can't. I'm sorry, honey. I'm going to bed. I just can't. I'm tired. Because I'm like, it's hard. It is very hard to do this all by yourself. Because I am doing it. I am you in 2019, doing it all by myself. And I know that the reward is coming. Not just because you said it in your book, but because it is. I know it is.
It is coming. It is coming, and every step matters. You cannot skip steps, but you can get help. So like I use Upwork all the time. I'm always getting help and having other women help me. And sometimes it's just like organizing a closet for me or doing something because I feel like money has a frequency too. And so I'm constantly giving my funds to other women to like help me. And sometimes it's not in my office per se, but it's around my house. So I would say keep at it. The other thing I do every other week, I have an astrologer that I work with, Molly, and she does a call every other week and tells you astrologically what's happening. And for some reason that gives me ease because I'm like, oh, she says, okay, this is going to be a hard day. This is going to be a great day to be productive. This is going to be a day that you're going to want to work out something on your taxes. And so I don't do it alone. I have different people in my life that are helping to guide me on this path. And I feel like that for women is how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to work with each other because it is a collaborative approach. And I think you got to find people that are going to help you stay inspired, stay motivated, and feel like it's worth it.
This is something that when I first received your book, I thought 74 keys to finding. Why 74?
Well, as you probably saw at the end of the book, my friend Michelle Lane, who was the woman hosting the retreat in Mount Shasta when I got Bring the Mystics Together, in the back of the book, I called her because I'm like, Michelle, what does this number mean? Why does this keep coming to me? And it's funny because when she told me what it meant, and I credit her in the book on page 265, the numbers 7 and 4 combined represent letting go of conditioning or patterns we have collected along the way that have been holding us back. This creates space for our light and gifts to shine through. 7 plus 4 is 11. The number 11 reminds us of our knowing and intuition with a powerful connection with the energies of the universe, ourselves, and others. And 1 plus 1 is 2. The spiritual number 2 highlights a partnership with the universe, our inner selves, and one another to work together to co-create as you have a higher role on the earth. The hope is this book gives you additional glimpses into your knowing that shape your journey ahead.
That's deep. That is really deep.
And that's why I say the book has a frequency. Like it's not going to be for every woman. It's not going to be, but the people that are called to read the book, it is going to be like an energy for you to really remove some of the blocks and create some momentum for your level of impact.
I remember I was going through, I think it was Goodreads, and I was just I'd finished up a book, finished interviewing somebody, and I thought, oh my goodness, I feel like when I was in college, now what? I can't be in nowhere land. I need to have something. And so I was scrolling and I came across your book. I saw the cover and I'm like, ooh, Seeking. The name, just Seeking. It was interesting. And because where I am within my journey in life, I thought, is this going to give me answers to what I am seeking? And so I thought I should buy this book. Then I received an email from Kelsey and she's like, hey, Carmen. And I said, I thought you'd never ask. Of course, I want to read that book.
Isn't that amazing? Like, isn't that serendipitous?
I even told my husband, I says, oh, there's this book right here on Goodreads. I think I want it. I think I'm going to buy this book. And I was tired. So it was late at night. And so I didn't move. I didn't order the book. And then the next day I received the email and I said, remember that book I told you about? I think it was meant to be because it's coming.
I believe in this more and more. Like, serendipitous moments happen all the time because I'm in the present moment. I'm really particular about like my energy and what I work on. And I think that is a magic story.
I'm like, wow, this book was really meant to be. And like I said, as I was reading it, I felt really connected with you, even though we follow each other on Instagram. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like JJ and I are sitting here on the bed or on the couch or doctor appointments and just thumbing through this book. And she's telling me a lesson. Then she's asking me questions because your questions asked me to, or this is the way I perceived it, that the questions were making me dig deep. Go deep. Don't ask those surface questions. Go deep. What are your answers to these questions? And so I told my husband, I said, this is a slower read than most of my books that I read because there was a lot of dig deep moments. And I was able to learn more about myself because it gave me time to pause and answer the question. Not skip it, answer the question. And I learned more about myself than I thought I had known about myself.
I'm going to take you with me. That's amazing. Because when you're writing, you just, as you know, when you're writing, you just are hoping that people get to a certain chapter or a certain lesson. And I feel like my whole goal, and just to be transparent for anybody who does astrology, my sun is in my 8th house, which is heavy, deep things. Like, I am not a surface talker, obviously, but I wanted to create something that would help other people shift too. And it's been quite amazing. Like, people have left their jobs and changed things. People have gotten that certification. People have become yoga teachers after reading this book because I think whatever was holding them back, the energy helps them push through it, to just lean in, to say, let me just see, let me just try this. Oh my gosh, that's a crazy story I'm telling myself. I can work around it.
It's also inspired me to, I don't care what other people think. And another thing, if it scares me, I'm on the right track. Because I think that we learn more from leaning in and being scared and challenging ourselves.
We definitely do. And if you're probably getting messages like I've gotten, like, the universe is not going to misguide us if we really create the space to listen and then just lean into it. That's really what we're being asked to do. And once we lean in or even ask for help or put a little sign up like, I want this, or this is going to help me on my journey, like, things appear.
JJ, where can people learn more about you?
Well, it's easy. I'm on most social platforms as JJ DiGeronimo. And I think it's funny. Like, you can't just put seeking in Google because you'll end up on a dating site. But if you put seeking 74 and even the initials JJ, you'll find it.
And what are you currently working on?
Oh my goodness. So two big things. So the universe has brought me this amazing place on Lake Erie that I feel I've had a lot of energy practitioners come there. It's a natural healing place. It has an amazing vortex. So I'm working on kind of how to activate that to be a global destination for people that are really looking to ground and get into their next level of work. So that's super exciting. And the second thing I'm doing is I'm creating a program to get more women published and noticed because it's hard to get published. And there's not a lot of community around it. It can be a lonely process. And so I'm working on a program to bring more women authors together so we can help each other.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for the work you do. Thank you so much for helping inspire, helping motivate, helping women see the potential that they have. I feel like your book is saying, I believe in you, or even your platform saying, I believe in you. Now it's your turn to believe in you. And so, JJ, thank you so much for doing that.
You have made my day, my week. I am so honored to join you. I'm so honored you take the time. And I really am inspired and look forward to seeing how things unfold for you,
right,
Carmen.
Well, thank you so much. I look forward to having you back on the show.
Very good. I can't wait.
As we wrap up today's enlightening conversation with JJ DiGeronimo, let's take a moment to reflect on the powerful insights she shared. Embracing our fears, taking risks even when we feel we're unprepared, and the profound importance of quieting our minds in the midst of chaos of life. It's a reminder that in the stillness, we can truly tune into our unique frequencies, and it's through daily mindfulness practice that we can maintain that connection. For those questioning your path, wondering, what is this all for? Or pondering, now what? Or even asking, is there more to life? JJ's book, Seeking, is your compass. It's designed to guide you through this journey of self-discovery, helping you find answers and align your life's purpose. And now, as always, you can find JJ's information and today's transcript at createthebestme.com/EP044. If today's discussion struck a chord with you, I urge you to subscribe to stay in the loop. Join me next week, or should I say next year, as we usher in 2024 with a deep dive into the topic of aging. Trust me, it's an episode you won't want to miss. Until then, keep dreaming big, take care of yourself, and remember, you are beautiful, strong, and capable of creating the best version of yourself. Thank you for watching. Catch you next week. Happy New Year, and bye for now.